whole aspect of it gets it to react to, which is it's like a binary switch.
The damn game warden was under the bridge with his binoculars looking, and
other fish, I guarantee you, was anywhere from 10 to 12. And you know the 10XD hooks, they're like, it was a stock hook, but they're like stout, dude. It opened up a 10XD hook.
Don't ever cook bacon naked.
I think my favorite part of that whole intro is the "Don't ever cook bacon naked."
I mean, it's good. It's good advice.
It's the best advice I think I've ever had given on this podcast. So, and by a man who probably knows very, very well, because if anybody's tried,
I mean, it's as much good advice as don't shave your nuts with a straight razor.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Definitely very Captain Obvious stuff there, but definitely good advice. Yeah. Man who lick knife have short tongue.
Exactly. That's true. So, guys, I have, as you probably noticed, I got my boy Zach from Dark Horse on here. There's going to be some noise in the background. He's hooking on the internet, and
hey, baby, what you?
We're starting our OnlyFish account, and he's our first guy. There we go. That's how you start a podcast.
Yeah, we got Zach from Pittsburgh hooking tonight.
Yep. Glasses and nipples. What else do you want on a Thursday night podcast?
Well, that's a whole thing, right? With the glasses on, some people like that.
Exactly. But if you guys saw my recent Instagram post, Zach's working on that December box and getting some of the base ready. And if you guys don't realize that if you do get one of those boxes, it's all kind of hand assembled by these guys. There's not a team of people in the back room putting all this stuff together. It's pretty much just you and Josh, right? Just you?
Yeah.
Josh does some of the stuff, right? He has like part of it, or
yes. Josh does things with stuff sometimes, but when it comes down to to the hardware and all that, it is come down to mostly it's me that's doing it. So
that is tedious work, dude.
I'm a sicko, bro. I like it. I just poured 504 of these.
I got to get into lead pouring. I think I'm going to get some lead molds for some heads and stuff. But
it's first of all, be careful. Lead does not leave your body once it is in there.
Right.
And it will destroy you. Fun fact. Lead is blamed for the actual fall of the Roman Empire. So they used to drink out of like lead cups back then.
Okay.
And so, and like the stories of Caligula and all that, like they actually like kind of went out of their minds, nuts, because of lead poisoning and the lack of faculties there. Kind of was one of the reasons why the Roman Empire fell, is because they all went batshit crazy from drinking out of lead cups.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'll admit, dude, I'm kind of a wimp. Like, I started doing live streams with pouring my own plastics, and I'm wearing a respirator the whole time. Like, I'm not.
That's not being a wimp. That's protecting yourself. There's no, and it depends. I here in the Rust Belt, being a millwright and all, like I grew up around some tough people. Yep. But gargling with mercury is not tough.
Yeah.
So that's stupid. Doing welding without a helmet is not tough. That is dumb.
Yep.
So there's
yeah. I know a lot of guys, like a lot of the ones that do plastic live stream stuff, like they use a fan, but I'm doing it in a shed that 3 of the walls are plastic tarp because I haven't finished it yet. And I have not that great ventilation, so like I'm not gonna sit there and breathe in, melted
Yeah, I mean, now that
plastic.
being said, you're much safer with the plastic than you are with the lead.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. No, my dad used to pour. It's funny because my dad used to pour his own like downrigger balls and stuff for trolling back in the day. But see, here in Vermont, we have the whole lead law thing, so you can't pour your own lead sinkers and all that anymore unless it's attached to a hook. So anything I did would be like nets, jig heads, swim bait heads, stuff like that.
So you can't just pour up some sinkers, huh?
So this is what really pisses me off about that law. You can't use a lead sinker under an ounce, but every tackle store in this state has a bucket out front of hand-poured sinkers under an ounce, and they can sell them, but legally you can't possess them.
Where are you at now? Where are you at? Where are you? Vermont. So, yeah, and that whole area up there, Massachusetts, Vermont, all that jazz up there, which was the first spots in the country for heavy industry. It is clearly on the heads of you anglers up there using lead sinkers why the water is fucked up. It's got nothing to do with the centuries of heavy metal industry and all that. It's clearly you guys and your lead sinkers.
It's my 1/16 ounce drop shot that's ruined.
Damn all of you for what you have done to the environment. I'm actually disgusted.
It has nothing to do with that paper mill that was literally had a pipe dumping wastewater in Champlain. It doesn't have anything to do with that.
No, there's a creek that runs there's a creek that runs through Carnegie. I catch smallmouth out of it. It's called Poop Creek. It's actually called Chartiers, but I call it Poop Creek. Apparently, my son is singing.
You had a shiny moment for a minute there. I was like, what's going on?
But anywho, I call it Poop Creek. It's called Chartiers Creek, and I catch smallmouth. It's like the closest place to catch fish near my house. And I catch smallies out of it and everything. I call it Poop Creek because it smells like poop. Because it literally runs through downtown Carnegie, Pennsylvania, and well, I'm pretty sure there's poop in it. Well, I worked at this steel fabrication plant that is right on Poop Creek, and it used to be they used to pickle steel there, and the tank outlets the old tank outlets for all that pickling went directly into the creek.
That's what they did. Dude, when I was growing up,
directly into the creek.
Yeah, dude, they did it. So they did it into Champlain, and they also a lake. My grandparents, and this is something that's always like bothered me to my core, is my grandparents owned a 8-bedroom camp on Lake Dunmore, which is like actually literally the area where that camp is where the state record largemouth was caught. Granted, it was in the 80s, but that whole area is a really good smallmouth, largemouth fishery. And they didn't have any rules on like running all those camps just ran their sewer lines from their camps right in. All they did is tied a cinder block to a piece of PVC far enough away from their beach so it didn't come back to their beach.
Yep.
And that's how it was all run. It was just like, and
that's man.
The paper mill in Ticonderoga was just dumping straight into Champlain.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. All that stuff is good, but what I don't want to get too far away from the important lesson here, and the important lesson is that it is you, the angler, and your 1/8-ounce lead sinker that is the problem.
Yep, exactly. You know what's funny too is Fish and Game told me that it actually isn't for pollution; it's for the loons eat the sinkers. And I'm like, so they don't eat a sinker with a hook in it? they're picking up a drop shot weight, but they're not picking up a Ned head. Huh? That doesn't make it.
So they're
the Ned
saying.
head-
So they're saying it's not even about the fish; it's about the birds.
Yeah, it's literally about the loons. It's specifically the loons because the loons are endangered and they'll eat the sinkers. But I'm like, so if they're gonna eat a drop shot weight, I have lost way more Ned rigs and rocks than I have.
Well. So I was actually just talking about this with my business partner Josh, and are you familiar with Mercer? I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a pretty big podcast and does all the announcing for BASS. Yeah. I don't know if too many people know this or not, but the other thing that Mercer does is he shoots a lot of freshwater, underwater footage. Like a ton of it. It is literally his passion. Like that's what the guy does.
Yeah.
And a lot of professional underwater freshwater footage that you see is probably shot by Mercer. And he has said more times than not. He said that when you're getting hits on a drop shot and you set the hook and you miss the fish, do you know why? It's because they were trying to eat your weight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So, if a fish is going to eat the weight, I guess maybe a loon's going to eat the weight too. I mean, I don't know anything about loons. I don't know how deep they dive or whatever, but I okay.
Oh no, they're
maybe
John Bird, dude. I've had them chase liplesses all the way back to my kayak.
Maybe it's got something to do with with the fish eating the weights and the bird eating the fish. Could be that.
Could be.
What the hell are you talking about, Wolf? Stealing your look. What look? You mean my glasses? Believe it or not, I do wear glasses.
So that's funny. So you got baits you're making. Are you guys still fishing, or are you kind of putting it up for the year?
I am. Any small water around me right now is not soft anymore.
Okay.
That could change here in about a week. But currently we got that blast. We got that blast of Arctic air coming out of the northwest, and it froze everything up. A lot of the small water that I fish, so like ponds and stuff like that, quarries, blah 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 blah. If it's not a creek or a river, any small water that I fish right now, they are so set down into the nooks and crannies of the hills around here, and you know that once they do freeze, it takes a lot for them to unfreeze. They stay frozen for a long time.
Yeah.
So any of my little R&D ponds, gimme ponds, whatever.
Yep.
Once they freeze, that's pretty much it. Unless it ends up being a very mild winter. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be right now, but I'm still banking on global warming. I hope that things are gonna warm up and I'll have a nice manageable temperate winter here in Western Pennsylvania.
Yep.
I mean, I know it's going to suck for my kids and stuff like that, but for me, global warming is cool because, well, I don't like being cold. So,
see, it's funny is I'm kind of like on both sides. Like it's like I was actually talking to Scott from Honor, who hangs out in the chat a lot for these lives, and it was like I actually don't really like ice fishing, even though I'm like want to do ice fishing this year. It's just like I was saying to him, fishing is my drug, and like that's like my crack because I can't get the real thing, so I'm just gonna take that because it's what's available.
I got no use for ice fishing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm not knocking anybody that does it, but for me, and I do a lot of crazy shit, dude. I do a lot of crazy stuff. But when I don't like being cold. Number one. Number two, when I go to step out onto a body of water covered by ice, my brain immediately says, this is an unnecessary risk.
Yep. Yep.
And did I mention it's cold? That's why the water is frozen.
Yep.
And usually on bodies of water that freeze, you've got a lot of open area there, so the wind is usually for shit, and that makes it worse. And my hobbies are expensive enough as is. I don't need to add ice shanties and stuff like that. Now, I will say, if I was invited out to do some ice fishing with somebody that had a nice little setup, a little
Yep.
a little man cave on skis that you just scoot out onto the ice there, and you spend all day like having some drinks and yucking it up with your buddies. I probably wouldn't turn that down, but no, you're never gonna find me on a bucket with an auger out on the middle of the ice ever. I'm not doing it.
So I've kind of come full circle with it. For a while, I was big into it as a kid, but back then, like you said, you could take a hand built whole shack, drag it out there, leave it out there all winter, and you just go like we would just literally. We didn't even lock them, like because everybody just had like a community. It was like a town that kind of got established on the lake for a while. As we got older, I got away from it, and then I have buddies who have like the pop-up hub style shanties and the heater and all the stuff with it. So like if I go, I'm not going by myself, and I'm going with someone like you said that has the majority of the equipment. I've got some tip ups, a couple jig poles, and I'll set stuff up, but I'm not gonna like go out there every weekend by myself and set up an entire system and then fish all like I just that's what I mean by like I like it, but I don't like it. And for me, it's more the content side. I was saying that to Scott Vermonter. There's something about a fat man Baywatch running across the ice that makes people want to watch videos.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I am the guy that will stay out fishing all day long, regardless of conditions. I don't really care if it's cold. I don't care if the wind's howling. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's blazing freaking hot. I really don't care. Usually when I get time to fish, that is my time to fish, and I am going to take advantage of it. And I will tough it out no matter what. Even if that's not the smartest decision. That's just who I am. However, like I said, when it comes to ice, no.
It's dude, I've gotten into so many arguments on Facebook this week because there's guys showing pictures that they're like 2 inches. I might go out this weekend, and I'm like, dude, 3 days ago, I almost thought I might have to mow my lawn. It got cold for 4 days. You've got 2 inches of melted slush. You're gonna die.
Hey, listen, and you know what? Good luck to them. I hope they catch a big one. I hope they catch a lot. I hope they catch lots of stuff to eat. And I hope they have a blast. But I will not be on that side of natural selection.
It's funny that you say that, dude, because it actually I pissed a bunch of people off at work because I actually said that. I'm like, if I ever ran for any office, my platform would be bring back natural selection.
See, that's the great thing about natural selection, buddy. You don't have to bring it back. It's already here.
Well, so like that's actually how I got put in Facebook jail last winter, and I said it again this winter. I'm waiting for it to get banned again. As I said, the rule should be here in Vermont is if there's less than 4 inches of ice on the lake, the first responders aren't coming to get you because all of our first responders are volunteer people, unpaid.
Yeah, and they're not going to die to come get you.
They did last year, dude. We had 2 EMTs die because 4 guys went out on Lake Champlain with 3.5 inches of ice, got stranded, and they had to use boats to get to them. That's how bad the ice was. And it
No,
pissed me
and
off because
people go out on ice, and then the ice breaks away, especially on those big bodies of water. And then the next thing you know, you're on like this ice island, floating out like miles and miles and miles away from anywhere where anybody can get you. And yeah, that's the thing that gets me is you're not just putting your life in danger; you're putting other people's life in danger. But hey, this is America, and we tend not to give a shit.
The funniest one we ever had 2 years ago. Funniest story I ever had with that was a guy took his Tesla out on the lake. Tesla, right? And he was one of those like.
Did the battery die?
He hit a bait hole, bottomed it out, punctured the battery. The car burnt to the frame.
Nice. He
got out, got home. He was one of those like rah on Facebook. I am saving the planet. Got to find
like one of those dudes that drives around those really dumb looking cyber trucks and is like, where's the T-shirt that says "Ask me about my cyber truck"?
Yep. The best part was all of his posts prior to that fire was him talking about how everybody is ruining the planet with their gas cars. He got a fine from the EPA for polluting the lake when he caught the fire in the lake. So he literally got a fine. The environmentalists got an EPA fine for polluting Lake Champlain.
Hey, listen, Mike, I am going to be a terrible guest here. I need to take a couple seconds. I have to run and get a box out of my truck because I have to get a count on these lures because I have to meet somebody. It's a long story. We'll talk about it, but give me a minute. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'll be right back, buddy.
Sure. No problem. I'll do some housekeeping, guys. So something I'm changing with my podcast. What we're doing here is, if you guys haven't noticed, I've been here like every other day. Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Mikey, the guest I had on Monday, finally had some available time, and I've been wanting to get him on for a while. And Zach, same deal. I've been trying to get him on for a little bit, but going forward, schedule's going to be changing for the Spawn podcast, where I'm actually going to alternate every other week. And I'm going to be running an episode where I have a guest on here. And then I'm going to be running that Shut Up Binya vlog podcast thing where I'm going to be making baits out in the shed, talking to you guys, answering questions. It's going to be more feedback with viewers. I may even be bringing some people in just to ask a question and then kick you back out if that's something you guys are interested in. But it's something that we're going to kind of change things up. I'm having a hard time locking in guests for every week. So rather than just not have a show, I'm just going to limit it to 2 guests a week. And then the other opposite week, I'm just going to do some sort of little live stream, talk to you guys, even if it's for like 45 minutes. It'll probably be on the weekends that I run the solo show. That being said, this man right here, Wolf of Walmart, hopefully, if we can get his schedule to work out, will be on next week, possibly next Wednesday. I'm not sure if I actually confirmed that with him, so I may have just put him on the spot in the chat. And yes, Scott Vermonter, I will be making the green pumpkin purple worm color that you have been asking for. So that's something that I'm going to be playing around with this weekend. I just got some molds from Anglin AI coming in. I also have some more plastisol that just came in today. So I'm going to be making a ton of different color baits, playing around. I'm trying to practice with open pour because that's a lot harder than it looks. The entire time I was pouring those baits, I actually burnt my fingers in the last episode that you guys were watching. And on top of it, I ended up not pouring the baits properly. So I'm definitely going to be working on my skills, and I'm not like making them for production or for sale or anything. It's just my goal next year is to get enough of a stockpile of plastics that I don't have to buy any factory plastics other than like real custom stuff or real specific things. That being said, I probably will be buying some stuff through Dark Horse because they do have the BYOB.
There you go, buddy. There you go. I was waiting for it. I literally just unmuted my mic so I could be like, but what about us?
No, so I will say the weird custom, like unique stuff that I can't pour myself. One of the examples is like Lake Fork, those rattlesnake, or I don't know what they call them. I think they're rattlesnake worms that they call them too. Those I can't. There's only one company that makes that mold, and it's a knockoff of their mold. And I don't really feel right about like a mold that's made in a country that doesn't abide by copyright laws.
Can we talk about knockoffs for a little bit here?
Sure.
I think I've finally come to where I sit on knockoffs. If anybody here is using a screwdriver that is not from HD Smith and Sons, I want you to know that you're using a knockoff screwdriver. Every last one of you. Whether it be flathead or Phillips. But so a lure is a tool. Like a screwdriver is a tool. And if somebody has a patent on something, well, then that's a law. And if you knock it off, you're going to pay the price for that. And that's why there's patents. But eventually, patents run out. Now, why do you think they did that?
It keeps people from having a monopoly on a specific.
They did that so that things can get better. Yeah. So that things can be improved. So that maybe certain things can be made a better way and make them more accessible to the masses. So as long as you are literally not knocking off something that is patented, I don't really see an issue with it, because that's how we have progressed as a society. That's how we've progressed as humans. That's why our tools are better. That's why everything gets better, is because somebody makes something really great, and then somebody else finds a way to make it either cheaper or a little bit better or something, and that is why we continue to move forward. So all this back and forth about knock off this, knock off that, listen, it's real easy. Is there a patent? Is there a patent infringement? If there's not, dude, go piss up a rope. That's what we do here. Like I said, the first company to mass produce screwdrivers was HD Smith and Company. Every screwdriver since then, by the angler's law, the unwritten angler's law, is a knockoff.
Yeah.
So, what do you got? What do you got? Craftsman over there? What do you got? You got a Snap-on screwdriver? Yeah, that's a good one, right? Snap-on, that's a good brand, right? Well, guess what? It's by angler's law, that's a knockoff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. Go pound salt.
No, I hear you. So the only thing I have an issue with that one is I don't. So now I'll be the first to admit I buy Berkeley baits.
Sure.
Because I can get that Berkeley stunner for a lot cheaper than I can get a mega bass bait. I can get that. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. It's just when I'm making them myself, and I know that I think I could be wrong, but that rattlesnake worm or the ring fry or whatever you want to call it, like the only mold that I can find, you have to buy from a company in the Netherlands. No one else will touch it, which tells me that there's something, I'm assuming, legalities about it, because otherwise, why would any of these 50 companies that do CNC molds why has Duet not made a copy?
Correct.
Correct. You know what I mean? That's why I haven't touched it. I will tell you right now, on your spirit, I have a Pit Boss mold coming from Angling AI next week.
Yeah. I mean, hey, thanks, Skeet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's coming in the mail, man.
Is that the one? Is that the one that he came up with years and years ago?
One,
I thought so. Yeah.
Yep. So that bait, I have an Angling AI one coming in the mail. I don't have a problem with it if it's something that I trust. I don't necessarily trust, but Duet molds, for example, the Senko mold, it has Senko on it. They admit that they got a partnership with Yamamoto. Some of their other baits, like a slick shiner. I wonder what that's made to be looking
Well,
like.
so Do It is obviously not going to make a mold of something that they can't make a mold of.
Right.
They would be called out on the carpet immediately.
Yeah.
So they're obviously not going to do that. And you know what, Do It's a great company, man.
Yep.
Good on them. Like, that's badass what they've done. They've made my job a little bit harder because now every Tom, Dick, and Harry that can buy a mold thinks he's got a bait company and can pour plastics, which is not the case. The
No, it's
shape
not.
of the bait, while very important, is not
Nope.
is not all of it.
It is not. It's not even
The
close.
chemistry of the plastic is so important. The colors, how good are you at colors? Listen, some people don't really make good colors. Hey, I just took like 18 different plastics I had and I melted them down and I made these baits. What do you think? You know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
But
No,
now see, I don't know. I go a lot of ways on this because honestly, dude, if you put a turd on a hook and presented it correctly at the right time, you could probably get a bass to bite it.
Yep.
But and I hear people say that kind of stuff all the time, but it's not really about that. It's what can you make a bait with the right color at the right consistency and chemistry and the right shape to consistently reproduce an effect.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And those end up being the baits that are absolutely bonkers. Those are the ones that work.
Yep.
And it's really interesting as Josh and I pick out baits and we put baits in the bait shop and we put baits in the boxes and we catch fish on them. We wouldn't put them in the box if we didn't. That being said, they're not all of our favorites.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not everyone is our favorite bait. That's crazy talk. Like, who's going to say that? I'm not going to tell you that. But it's very interesting. I'll get a feeling about a bait. I'll use one and I'll be like, you know what? This one is a banger. Like this
Yep.
one is a banger. There's something about this one that's just a little bit special. And it's not always the ones you pick out by sight either. Sometimes it takes a lot more than that. Sometimes you got to fish it. You got to see how the fish react to it. You got to see how it actually fishes, all this other stuff. But, we definitely have favorites, man. We definitely have favorites. Basically, I can tell you right now, anything in our bait shop from HH Customs, you can't go wrong. Complete banger. That dude is a flat out freaking genius.
I do not like micro jigs, but I like their micro jigs.
Oh, dude, they're so bad. They're so badass, dude.
Like, I don't know what it is about those. Like,
his micro bladed jig, and everybody talks shit on anything that it doesn't come from Z-Man. But his micro bladed jig has 2 split rings in between the blade and the head. I will tell you this right now. That thing starts up as immediately.
Yep.
Immediately. Like the very second, dude, I swear to God, that thing starts shaking before you think about turning the reel. Maybe it's got something to do with the head shape compared with the blade and the 2 split. I don't know, but whatever he did it right, man. He did it right. And I know what people are saying because not all bladed jigs do start. I've had plenty of bladed jigs where you have to give them a good hard yank to get them to start.
And not just custom ones. I'm talking production ones too.
So there is that, but no, yeah, man. Lots of.
So have you had any company that you've like gotten stuff from that? And I don't want you obviously to name names, but like company that you got their stuff and you're like, nah, I'm not gonna put this in my box.
Yeah. If you come to me and you don't have anything proprietary, that's a red flag. That's not to say that we don't use stuff that isn't proprietary. There are some companies out there that do pour stuff from Do It molds that we will use. The reason why we will use them is because they have really great colors and they've got a really great chemistry to their plastics, and they're detailed about their production process. So you're not getting a bunch of flashing all over it. You know what I mean? Like things look good, neat. It's got good packaging. The guy cares about what he does. Like your stick worms aren't kinked 6 ways from Sunday when you get them. Like, no, there's a lot of stuff to look at. But no, 9 times out of 10, if you come to me and you don't have anything special about what you do, the answer is no. And dude, sometimes we feel bad because I know that the person that's talking to me is somebody brand new to it, and they're very interested in it, and they're very gung ho about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And hey, dude, they might turn out to be the next best lore maker on the planet.
Yep.
But you're not ready, and I can't. I owe my customers more than that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, we actually we and expo season's the worst, man. I turned down so many people in expo season.
I imagine that Columbus Expo was crazy.
It's not fun, dude. It's actually my least favorite part about the job.
Yep.
That is my least favorite part about the job because I'm not here to poop on people, dude. I don't want to poop on what you're doing. I've had like brand new teenage age kids hand their stuff to me, and they ask me for honest feedback, and I hope they want it because that's what I'm going to give them.
Right.
Listen, man, like for your age and for you just starting to do it, this looks really good, man. It's not there yet, so keep working at it. Like, don't give up. Like, keep trying. You will get it. You will get better. You will. If you want to, you can make this into something. But not good enough yet, buddy.
Yep.
And I wish more people had the nuts to say stuff like that because everybody out there looking for cookies and thinking that they just deserve and earn the right to do stuff is kind of nuts.
Dude, it happens. You know, what's funny is like I've had, and I'm not anything big or anything special in the YouTube world, but I mean, I've had companies reach out to me and then I've looked at the stuff that they sell and I'm looking at like what they're asking me to promote. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to say anything positive about this because it's not something I'm going to use. It's not something that I think is going to be of value to me. So I'm not going to be good to, but at the same time, I'm not going to give you guys the name of the company that like, let them grow. Maybe if they get better later, cool. I'm not going to disparage them, but I'm like, I'm not going to be able to help you grow. Like that's not going to be what you want.
Correct. And nor should you, because, you know, don't go attaching your name to something that, you're not going to attach your name to.
Part of what I started this channel was because I got sick of watching YouTuber X saying in January of 2022, this is the best reel I've ever used, and this is the only reel you'll ever need. And then in 2023, this is the best reel, and the other reel I used last year is no good. You need to get like. I hate the fact that like people are willing to promote something they don't believe in for a paycheck, and that's not how I roll. It's just I'm willing to not take sponsor dollars to be able to stick to my principles. It's just who I am.
And Pete, that's why you're as good as you are, is because you still don't feel like you're good enough and you keep trying to be better. Because Pete, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is one of the best painters I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
Yeah.
Yes, no, absolutely. Stone Man is fantastic. I can't always use all the names that he wants to use for his baits because we don't all do that, Pete. But no, Pete, as far as a painter, is absolutely badass.
Yeah.
No. And you know, anytime somebody hears this is the best, don't spend your money on anything else. This is the best. Throw everything else out. Well, that should be a red flag right there.
Yep.
Because it's just not the truth. First of all, we're all a little bit different. So things are going to work a little bit differently for everybody else. And what may be super good for person A is not going to be the best for person B, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
And that's why we have such a wide variety of stuff to choose from.
That's why with my channel, like you'll hear me talk about like styles of baits, but I don't necessarily list a specific bait.
Yeah, I know. It's a great name, Pete. And honestly, the name matched the color of that bait really, really, really well, but I just can't put that out there. I got customers that may not agree with that, buddy.
Yeah.
No, yeah, man. Yeah.
So I have to ask, without, I'm sure you don't want to give away like too much because people got to receive the box, but the December box, was that mostly hard baits or was it like a mix of plastics and hard baits? I know one bait that's in there, but
It's always going to be a mix.
okay.
Most of our boxes, you're only going to get one hard bait.
Gotcha.
And this box is no different. You're going to get one now. Our our October box, there was 2 hard baits. There was I don't think I have any of them up here at the battle station. I think they're downstairs. But actually, Pete painted both of them for
Gotcha.
us. We had a 4.5 inch glide, which is first of all, it's an amazing glide. It's, you can do all kind of things with it. It works great with a straight retrieve. It works good. You can almost get that thing to turn around on itself if you know what you're doing. And Pete gave us 3 bang up colors. And it's nice because you can throw it on conventional tackle.
I love the A-Bay does a lot of those glides too, and like the Pete does a lot of them. I've actually got some stuff from Pete that we got for prizes at tournaments, and I like when you can fish like a glide or a jointed swim bait that's like I can throw it on my medium heavy and I don't have to have a swim bait rod. You know
Now,
what I mean?
if you want to get your hands on a, we'll call it a garage made glide bait that you can throw on conventional tackle. So it's not, this isn't somebody painting a blank, which there's nothing wrong with that. We sell them.
Right.
This is somebody that made the blank.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at. Cliff Pace, 2013 Bassmaster Classic champion, Cliff Pace, Game Face Cliff Pace. He makes a bait called the Hollywood. I think it's about $100. It's balsa. It's a balsa glide, and it's and you could throw it on conventional tackle. It's badass. I highly recommend it. Anywho, yeah, no. Where were we going, dude? I got lost.
We're always getting lost. That's kind of the whole point of this. That's why I call this the spawn, because you never know what conversations are going to spawn from it. Is literally the idea. So you guys have, the question I have for you is, do you have like a list of like 10 guys that you just get stuff from, or do you just literally spend like hours on the internet looking for people that are selling baits and say, hey, I want to get you in the box?
So once we find you and we love you, then we are going to eventually work our way through your entire catalog.
Gotcha.
That being said, half of our mission statement in Dark Horse Tackle is to be introducing you to companies that you might not know that are really good. Because trust me, dude, there are people making amazing baits from one end of this country to the other. They're doing them in small shops. They're doing them in basements and garages and bedrooms and every other manner of place that you could have a little side hustle going on. The people are doing this, and some of the companies we work with are small businesses that have almost breached small business. And like Lake Fork, we work with Lake Fork. Lake Fork is still by all rights a small business. And it's amazing. They've been around for a long ass time. But dude, there's plenty of people on the East Coast that have no idea who they are.
Dude, Lake Fork makes cool
stuff. They make awesome stuff. And so like I every once in a while really want to put some gambler stuff in there, but I don't hear gamblers really on the edge of small, man.
Yeah.
Gamblers really on the edge of small. We were actually just about to put something in our box from Venom, I was literally getting ready to call them and then found out that they folded. Venom has gone out of business.
Gotcha.
So yeah, there's no more Venom. But yeah, so the whole point is to introduce these smaller companies, and that's what we try to do. Yeah.
I met the owner of Rabid the other day.
I fished their fluke style bait. You're talking about it's got the roadkill hair on the back end.
Yeah, dude. So it was the weirdest thing. I was at literally Dick's Sporting Goods buying some line before the end of the season, and I was just looking through baits, and he was like, he was working there. He's an employee at Dick's, and he was just like, I was talking to him for a few minutes. He's like, "Have you tried these?" And I'm like, of course, not knowing. I was like, "Yeah, dude, I haven't had a ton of success with them." I'm like, "I've had success with their little Ned Craw thing that they have." I'm like, "I've had success with that thing, but everything else I haven't had a lot of luck with." And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "How have you been fishing them?" And I'm like having this whole conversation with him, and then I kind of like get the like hint. And he's like, "Yeah, I own the company," and I was like, "Holy!"
It's a neat bait. It's a neat bait.
The thing is, I didn't realize his headquarters is 20 minutes from my house.
Yeah, man.
Like that's the thing that like I never pick up on sometimes is like you see these baits with like all their packaging in the store and stuff, and then you don't realize that guy works at Dick's and is pouring these on the weekend. Like it's kind of crazy. Like sometimes when you think like I thought that was more of like a production bait, but apparently it's just him and his wife.
No, you can. I can kind of tell by the advertising usually where these companies are coming from. Believe it or not, that's one of the easiest ways for me to tell whether a company is big business or small business is their advertising. There's a homegrown aspect, and I'm not saying that the small businesses don't have good advertising. I'm not saying that at all, but there's definitely a difference. Like there's definitely a clear-cut difference. Like you can tell when somebody had a great idea for an advertisement and went out and shot it and made it and did it themselves. And whenever they had a whole team of people doing something. I've got some ideas. If I can only get my $5,000 drone that I want, that I don't think people will be able to tell the difference, but I've got some badass ideas for advertising, and I'm getting pretty close, man. I get my journey card here this year, and once I get that journey card, I'm kind of untouchable. I can always just walk back into the hall and do whatever I want. But I'll be making the jump to doing nothing but making baits and running dark horse tackle and going to expos and fishing and making content. That's
the dream, dude. Like that's
hey, listen, making baits is. I got a real heavy dose of reality about what it's like to hand pour baits. It is not an easy thing. Like there's way more work that goes into it than you think, man. So it worked out that for this Christmas box this Christmas box had more fires than I've ever seen in a freaking box before in my life. I have no idea why. It just happened to happen. And so by the time I was washing the soot off of my face from putting out one fire, there were 3 more burning. And we actually started working on this thing in August. And yeah, like, dude, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. But ended up the only way I could get the underspins for this box was to go out and go to the company that makes them and make them myself, because he didn't have the time or the people to get it done. So I literally went out and poured, powder coated, and made these things myself.
Okay.
There's a little bit more to that story, Yep. But yeah, I actually went out and made these things myself, and I have literally if anybody gets the Christmas box, our aggressively average Dark Horse Tackles aggressively average Christmas box. We still, I'll tell you right now, we're under 50 left. So you don't have a whole lot of time because they are going, and we only made so many, and once they're gone, that's it. They're gone. When you get that box and underspins are a part of that box, and when you see that underspin, just know that I personally poured the lead, bent the wires, hand filed down the shape of the underspin itself, hand powder coated it, put all the components together.
Does that statement right there look familiar?
What's that now?
I reached out to Zach and I said, "Hey, dude, I get paid on Friday. Can you hold a box?"
Hey, listen, we're all struggling.
Because I ordered that damn set of molds, and then I was like, "Oh crap, my account's overdrawn," because I thought I had other things not coming out. And then I was like, "I gotta wait till Friday."
Man. Can we talk a little bit about overdraft fees,
Dude?
What the hell? You're gonna take a guy that clearly just made a mistake. You're gonna take a guy that is clearly getting his butt kicked right now, and what are you gonna do? Now that you know that he doesn't have enough money, you're gonna charge him more? Whose dumbass idea was that?
You know why I ended up at the current employer that I'm at? Because
it's all happened. We've all had it happen, except for my kid. My kid's got a perfect record. I don't know how he's done it. He's clearly, that must be his mother because it ain't me.
So I worked for a bank that for years I was the I want your supervisor guy in the call center, right? So I was the final line of like, I get the ultimate Karens that no one can deal with. And I had to justify things like, we would reorder your transactions largest to smallest.
Right.
So you would get 5 fees instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the time or order they came in.
No, dude, there was a massive broad blanket class action lawsuit that went out to find banks for that practice. Was it this year or last year? I can't remember, but I literally got a check in the mail as my part of that class action lawsuit because they were doing that. Yeah, they would reorder it so that you would get hit harder than you needed to.
I had a bank too that what they did, which really pissed me off, is I had a credit card that your due date would change based on when you last made a payment. It was 30 days from the last payment. So you could never be on time because if you paid early, then you paid late, and you thought you would do a certain day, you weren't, and then it would just constantly move. And it was a constantly moving target. Yeah, dude. That's how I ended up in tech support because I got sick of trying to like people screaming at me the whole time. And in my head, I'm like, you are absolutely right. I cannot waive the fee, but you are absolutely right. Like,
Mr. Scott, yes. Jeff and Paul over at Aggressively Average Anglers are, dude, they are legit. Like, they are so legit. Like, I have never worked with content creators that have it that together. They are on point. They communicate like crazy. They know what they're talking about. They know what they want. And they fish. Like they are literally for what they do on YouTube, they are bad to the bone, man. 100%. They are bad to the bone. And they are good at making content. Like they have energy behind it. Like they are informative, they're entertaining. No, they were literally a pleasure to work with.
It seems like when you watch their videos too, is it's like, what I like about them is they don't seem to have like a template. You know what I mean? Like some guys, they have like every video is basically the same. Like them, you never really know what you're going to, it's like they took a camera, like you can tell they plan it and they have a thought, but it's not like they're reading from a script either. It's real, but planned. It's like organized chaos, I guess.
So we do a box video, right? So Josh and I always get together and we shoot a video that goes over what's in each month's box. anybody that's a subscriber of ours, I apologize for the 3 months where we didn't make one, but stuff happens. But you won't see that mistake again. We got our butts handed to us and we figured it out and made it better. But anyways, so this month for the December, we are not making the video. Jeff and Paul are making the video, and I still haven't seen it yet, dude.
Oh, really? That's funny.
I think so. We were supposed to get them the put together box by the beginning of December.
But somebody had to hand pour all this.
Yeah, but so many things caught fire and burned down to the ground in the midst of trying to make this box. They just got that box in their hands like maybe five days ago, maybe 4 days ago. So I think they're going to make that video this weekend, which I'm really looking forward to it because that's something that Josh and I have labored over, since we decided to start making videos, which I think was. So I bought the old owner of Dark Horse Tackle out in November of 2022, and I think it was March of 23 when I said we need to have a video that accompanies this box. Like, we need to have a video, and that's when we started making videos, and it started just Josh filming himself talking about the videos in his basement. Yeah. And then we got some camera equipment and got some microphones and started doing it out on different bodies of water and stuff, and we started getting a little bit better and getting some better ideas, and I'm always researching and trying and prodding and looking at stuff, and so they've gotten a little bit better. They're not where I want them to be ever. In fact, Josh wants to kill me like every month because I'm like, it's not good enough. Yeah. But that's all part of the deal, right? Like, we're always trying to get better every time. Like, if tomorrow a box came out and I was like, you know what, this is the perfect box, we have reached the top of the hill. Well, what if that happens? Like, what reason do I have this? Oh yeah, Pete, 2 turntables and a microphone, bottles and cans, just clap your hands.
To be fair, though, you guys are shipping, receiving, ordering, acquisitions, and marketing. So there's a lot going on.
Everything you see in a Dark Horse Tackle box has been done by us.
Yeah.
Everything except for the packaging so the hard bait packaging I do. Now, I didn't actually make the plastic box, but I did make the backer card. Yeah. I did design the backer cards. Every month I design the brochures that come in the boxes. I've designed all of the stickers that get put on the box, all the artwork, all that jazz. Yeah, no, it's all done by us.
And the hooking, bring back the hooking joke. They put, what is it, still vector hooks that you guys are putting on those? Mm-hmm. So they're putting vector hooks on all the baits. So they're shipped the baits with no hooks, no hardware. They're putting all the hardware on. So
yeah, we get them like this.
Yep,
we get them like this.
Let's send them to you.
And you get them like this.
Yep. And those are good hooks too. Those aren't like cheapies either. Those vector hooks are solid.
I actually, whenever I designed these backer cards, I actually give you all the info on the back.
That's good.
We do obviously the pattern as far as the color, the depth that it runs, or whether it's floating, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah. I give you the exact weight of the bait, not just the blank, but the weight of the whole bait, hooks and all. The length of the bait, and I put on there what kind of rattle is in there. Is it a 1 knock? Is it silent? Is it like a loud raucous, like mini BBs in there? Like I put all that information on there, and then I tell you exactly what hooks are on there. And I will tell you whether or not there's a different hook on the front and the back, because sometimes we do that because sometimes I want baits to sit a certain way, and I have a little tank that I test them in because I want to make sure that bait sits the way we think it should sit. And especially with a jerk bait like this, I got to make sure that it sits the way we want it to sit. Do we want it to slow sink? Do we want it to float? You know what I mean? Like there's all kind of stuff that goes into it, man. And we literally pay attention to every single freaking detail.
Well, and that's, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why, I mean, obviously I've put your logos on my stuff. I promoted you guys. I've talked about the baits is because like I've had most of the subscription boxes at one point or another. But what I like about the Dark Horse box, and I'll admit, I don't subscribe every month. I will do a BYOB box sometimes, or I'll order stuff from the shop just because I know I want some specific stuff. But like the difference is what I like about your guys' box is the fact that I can go to a boat ramp and pull that out, and I can almost guarantee you the dude I'm fishing in the tournament against doesn't have that bait.
Nice.
And that's actually how I mean, I didn't know Pete before I started fishing. He was the tournament director for Sladation this year. I didn't know him personally, but I'd fished his baits before I started competing against him in tournaments because I'd gotten a baits in your box. So,
hey Scott, buddy, do me a favor, get a hold of me. Zach at darkhorsetackle.com is my email. That's ZECH at darkhorsetackle.com. Get a hold of me. I could probably do something. We've got lots of codes that you may not know of that may put it more within your range or whatever. But let me know, buddy. We'll do what we can. But yeah, sorry, I just saw that comment and wanted to.
No, you're good. Yeah, no. I think that's what it was for me is like at trade shows. Like the way I think of your box is like it's almost like going to a trade show every month. Because you get a lot of those guys that have those baits that you discover this stuff on a table at a trade show. And you're like, dude, that's really cool.
So the best way, I think we're different. I think we're different than most subscription boxes in that we are more like, are you familiar with the term personal shopper?
Yep. Yeah.
We are more like that than we are a subscription box, whereas we are literally going out there and we are picking out the suit you're going to wear.
Yep.
Or a good suit to wear. In this case, it's not a suit, it's not clothes, obviously. It's bass fishing baits. But we are going out there, we are curating it, we're doing the work for you. Like, is this garbage? Is this good? Is this what? Is this da 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 da? And we find these companies and we find baits that we think work really well. And it's close. You know what I mean? Listen, we got customers all across the country, so it's close. It's close to what's going on in any part of the country. Close. But I guarantee you, the baits we put in the box, very few of them. Like the only one I could say doesn't work all year long is probably the only one would be the June box, because that's our all topwater box.
Yeah.
But that being said, I've caught bass on topwater in December up here in the Northeast. So,
well, and the other thing is you guys don't like one thing that I will say, and I'm not trying to disparage any other company. If you have your favorite box or whatever, that's a different story. But
yeah,
the difference is like if you guys put a drop shot hook in the box, you're putting a drop shot bait in the box. I'm not getting a drop shot hook and a 16-inch worm. So,
fun fact, we have never, ever put hooks in the box.
Fair enough, yeah.
This Christmas box actually has 7 items in the box. It is the most items that has ever been in a Dark Horse Tackle box. And I really had to pull a lot of strings to make that work. But that 7th item is a full pack of a certain kind of vector hook. And the reason why it's in there was at the behest of Jeff and Paul from the Aggressively Average Anglers, because they wanted a certain bait in there, but the bait didn't make sense if you didn't have the hook to do the certain technique.
Right.
So I'm really curious to see what people think about that. But it's a certain kind of hook that I don't know if everybody's gonna have it.
Yeah.
So like, well, here's the deal. People that subscribe to boxes usually fall in one of two categories. Either they're really new to bass fishing,
Yep,
and are just kind of looking to fill things out and try things and get a feel for the whole thing, which is great, fantastic. And then you have people that have been fishing for bass for quite a long time, but are those kind of people that have literally been throwing the same 2 or 3 baits their entire life and kind of want to branch out a little bit and try. And there is a third category. Listen, if you're a bass fisherman, if you're an angler, 99% of us have the collector gene, and we just like the toys.
it's fun to it's like a Christmas morning. You open it up and you're like, I don't know what's here. So it's and that's why for me I don't do this the month subscription, because I have an entire pegboard wall right here that is not even all loaded because I unpacked it throughout the season, but I literally was doing subscription. I was actually on a Dark Horse subscription for like 4 months, and then had boxes I hadn't even opened yet because I didn't have time to get to them. And it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to wait. But I will do what I actually like, which is something that you guys do that is unique, is that BYOB deal. So like I can go in and like, I don't necessarily care about this.
You can pick your favorite parts from the last 3 boxes and put them all together in one. Absolutely, that's what you can do. Now, also, to get our boxes, you don't have to subscribe.
Right.
It's going to cost you a little more money.
Yep.
In fact, I think it's $3 to $4 more expensive, but you can get a single box.
Yep.
You can just buy one box, and we are pretty accommodating. So if it's like the end of January and you just saw what was in the January box and you're like, oh man, that was badass, I'd really like to have that, get a hold of us.
Yep.
We may have 1 or 2 left, or I can recreate the box for you. And so that's always another option. We're looking at starting to create some single purchase boxes that we will just have all of the time. I think that we're currently looking at and trying to build, and these won't be at the same price point. These will be a completely different price point. It's going to be whatever's in the box kind of price point. Yep. But this isn't the sub, right? So these are just single purchase boxes. But I really think what we want to have a beginner's box.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll have weights, hooks, baits. You know what I mean? Just something solid for a good thing to get somebody that is like, hey, I would like to learn how to catch bass. Well, here is a box of stuff that pretty much, here's your tackle box.
Yep.
You can catch on all this stuff, go out and go get them.
Yep.
And I have somebody in mind. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I have a super good friend of ours that is known for informing people about bass fishing that I think we're going to work with to create that box. Cool. And then interesting fact, I'm a bass brat, but that actually puts me in the minority. Believe it or not, all you bass fishermen out there, we are in the minority. Most people in this country are not sole bass fishermen.
Nope.
They fish for whatever swims. So we're looking into creating maybe some. We might put together like a panfish box. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Some stuff like that, just to try to reach out to the other fishermen out there that aren't necessarily just keying in on bass all the time.
There's a lot of trout guys out there that would
Sure.
put in a box for sure.
There is a lure that is handmade here in PA. I'm not going to say it out loud, but if you talk to anybody in this freaking state, they will tell you, if you want to catch a trout, throw this.
Yep.
So and stuff like that. That's what we want to show everybody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like we want to show people that stuff. Like why shouldn't these smaller companies have the same chance? And the only way that all of these smaller companies are going to have the same chance is if we all come together without losing our autonomy, support each other, and it's like the David and Goliath thing.
So I have to ask, because I've been actually asking all my guests this lately, what is your favorite either style or technique or bait that you like to fish?
Easy peasy, buddy. I like to throw weightless plastics across the top of water and scream them across the top of the water like I'm going to war and catch fish. That is my favorite thing to do. There are a few baits that are my favorite to do it with. But just when you think that you've figured out the best way to do all that, there's another way to do it and another bait that does it in a way that works even better. But dude, skipping soft plastics across the top of the water, never letting them go under. Dude, I've caught so many fish doing that. It's insane.
So before I started fishing like actual true topwater baits, I started with like a wacky rig, and I would do that a lot.
But that's a great way to do it, dude. You can get those things to skip out of the water and it looks just like a flea and bait fish.
I used to do it. What I used to do with a wacky rig a lot, and I used to do it with like small creatures too, was I would throw them on top of pads, right? Burn them until I found a hole. So you burn them across the pads. They're plinkoing and erratic as hell until you get to that opening. There's always like a random spot where there's a rock or something,
and then kill them.
And just let it fall down the front of that, because those fish see that scurrying on top of them and they're like, what the hell is that? And then they see that fall through that hole.
Biggest bass I ever caught was 7 pounds, 8 ounces. And I caught it by doing what I'm talking about right now. I was using, they don't make the bait anymore, Reaction Innovations Trixie Shad. Okay. They no longer make the Trixie Shad. They make something called a Trixie Shark, which is pretty much the same bait, except they gave it 2 tails, and I don't like it. But it's just a big 6.5, 7 inch long kind of like shad style bait, salty plastic bait, real thick, and I needed a 6/0 hook to rig it, a 6/0 EWG to rig it right, and I would just wing that thing across the top of the water, man. And every once in a while, if the situation called for it, I'd do what you're talking about, which is make some noise and then kill it, make some noise and then kill it. And that's how I caught the biggest bass I ever caught in my life.
That's one of the things I used to do that a lot with Actual Gambler. Speaking of that, they have that, I think it's
Flapping Shad.
Yeah. Same thing.
What I used to do at the Flapping Shad is, they have like just a paddle tail on there like this, right?
Yeah.
I would actually take my thumbnail and make a cut from here to about here and kind of give it like a speed worm tail.
Okay. Yep.
And I would use those and wing them across the top of the water like that. But yeah, dude, badass.
That's the thing that I learned with a lot of baits, like swim jig, for example. A lot of times I'll fish a swim jig, obviously like you normally would fish it, but then I'll just fish it like a pitching jig and then swim it back. So I'll like pitch it in, pop it a couple of times, drag it a little bit, and then slow roll it back, because you get kind of multiple retrieves instead of just flipping in and pulling it back out. You're fishing the whole column between you and that section of grass. And that, to me, especially because I'm mostly kayak angling, I want to be as efficient as I can and make sure I'm because that's the thing I never understood with guys that like I get it, and there's a point where you need to do that too. But there's been so many times where you flip like a football jig in, and then when you're burning that back to flip it again, that fish is following it out. Like
No,
if
you
weren't-
can't.
like,
There is
just try-
not. There is not. We don't have, as anglers, we do not have the equipment to move a bait too fast for a bass to hit.
right.
We just don't. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But no, man. Yeah, that's my favorite way. If you ask me, my second would be the Jig Masters. Night Pete. The Jig Masters micro buzz, and
Okay.
it's a little 3/16 ounce buzz bait, with a good heavy wire on it. If you fish it right, though, you're not fishing it like a buzz bait. You're actually fishing it like you're waking a spinner bait.
Okay.
I don't know why, but for me, that is the way I run it.
Okay.
Andrew Hayes worked with Jig Masters to create that bait, and Andrew Hayes is the one that was like, "Hey, try doing this with it. Run it like you're waking a spinner bait." And dude, holy cow.
I could see that.
I've caught so many freaking bass doing that, dude. It is nuts. In the spring, I get on this pattern and I usually just have like a single or twin tail grub on a 3-inch single or twin tail grub on the back of that thing.
Yep.
And I'm running it like I said, like you're waking a spinner bait. So those blades are just ticking the very top of the surface. Sometimes not even. Sometimes you're running it literally just so you see like a little, you see a little hump in the water.
Yep.
It's not even ticking it. It's just underneath it.
Yep.
And I get on this pattern in early spring where I will run it and it'll start getting hit by crappie. Okay.
Yep.
And I'll get hit by a crappie, and I'll get hit by a crappie, and I'll get hit by a crappie, and then a big ass bass will come and destroy it. But it never happens until a couple crappies hit it real quick. So you run it like literally the same cast. Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
And it's getting hit by these crappie. Boop, boop, boop. And then boom. Dude, it's crazy. I love that thing, man.
That is a fun one. I haven't done it with that specific bait, but yeah, I will do. So a lot of the places that I like my home lake, by June, it's 4 feet of water with 3 feet of submergent grass. So I kind of have no choice but to fish everything kind of high anyways. And I do the same thing with like an underspin, or like one of the ones I fish a lot is like a belly weighted Kitech. And I do the belly weighted because it's weedless and I don't have to worry about picking milfoil out of the hook every time I'm retrieving it with a swim bait head. And it's literally like the same thing. Like sometimes I'm like I've actually done it by accident. I discovered it by accident because I was like, I thought I screwed up my cast and I was burning it back
Yep.
to make my next cast, and then boom.
No, sir. That is a verified way and technique to catch fish. Absolutely, 100%.
And I think that crappie thing, honestly, is probably bass are territorial. So they see a bunch of crappie trying to hit that bait, and they're like, "No, I'm going to eat it." Like they don't want them to eat it, and they don't even necessarily want it. They're just not going to let the crappie out.
So the crappie spawn pretty early,
Yep.
And a lot of times you have a whole ton of juvenile crappie in the water, and the bass just eat them.
Yep.
So if you have a bunch of that activity going on, there's probably a bass lurking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's probably a bass lurking to eat that kind of thing. So
That's actually something.
Yeah, neat stuff, dude.
Bobby's Jigs and Bigs, like his multi-species tournament that he does,
Mhm.
it made me realize, it actually made me a better bass angler because I was constantly targeting the bass's food.
Right.
And if you,
So
if
you
you
learn
think
a little
about
bit.
it logically, you learn how to catch bluegill
Absolutely.
and crappie and perch better. But now I'm where they are. Well, guess what else is there? Because if they're there, the bass are there too to eat them. So
Hey man, here's a hot tip for everybody. A surefire pattern on every lake in the country. A surefire pattern to catch bass. I'm gonna give it up. You ready? I'm gonna give up the juice. Look for the bluegill fishermen and fish where they're fishing.
Yep.
Yep. Look for them. Look for them dudes in them tin boats, man.
Look for the shoreline that has a whole bunch of tin cans, a bunch of old buckets, a bunch of packs of Marlboros all lined up on the shore. There's probably bass hanging around there because all that chaos is there because those guys have been bluegill fishing.
Scott, I thank you for subbing, man. I hope you mean Dark Horse Tackle. I hope you don't mean my personal YouTube because there ain't much on there.
Yeah,
but definitely Dark Horse Tackle, man. There's a lot of good stuff on there. Thank you.
And honestly, it's his fault that I keep moving my dates, guys. So I started out on Thursdays, moved to get away from football, moved to Tuesdays, and then all of a sudden Dark Horse and Serious Angler and Mainstream Fishing and Wendell and all these guys started doing their podcasts at 8:00 on Tuesday. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to
only every other week. We only do ours every other week.
It's funny because I was like, hey, you guys want to come on the podcast on Tuesday? And Zach's like, actually, dude, we're starting ours on Tuesday. Start this week at 8. I'm like,
Not so this week, next week. By the way, I was wrong. We could have done it on Tuesday.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't have one this week. It's next week. We're bi-weekly. That's the best we can hope for is bi-weekly.
Honestly, I was saying when you left, I'm going bi-weekly with this podcast. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do one with a guest every other week, and then the other one I'm going to do like a solo where I'm just like making baits and answering questions.
I always listen, Josh, and it's one of the things that Josh brings to Dark Horse Tackle besides his expertise in bass fishing. One of the things that Josh brings to Dark Horse Tackle that is irreplaceable is his ability to be in front of a camera and say things. I am not that guy. Yeah. I used to be when I was younger. I could suck the oxygen right out of a room, dude. Everybody would be left gasping for air because I just take all the oxygen. But anymore, as I got older, I don't. I'm not that big on. I'm not that big. But Josh is great at it, dude. He's always got something to say, man, and it sounds good. And obviously, Josh knows what he's talking about. So, but I always worry, like what at a certain point, don't you run out of shit to say?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. This is officially episode 44 of this particular podcast. This is one of 3 that I've started.
Now, I know that, all right. So I'm a 50% owner of Dark Horse Tackle, right? Good. And I've been fishing for strictly bass since 2000. So that's 24 years straight, right? Guys, I'm still learning. And I am not the kind of guy that wants to give a symposium on a subject unless I think I know it all. And guess what? When it comes to bass fishing, I don't know it all. And frankly, I don't want to know it all. I'm glad that I don't know it all. I'm glad that I continue to go out there and learn every day. And I want you guys to learn with me and try these new techniques and try this new cool shit. And that's why we put it in a box because holy cow, have you ever seen a way to catch fish like this? That's badass. Like, we want you guys to have fun with us that way. You know what I mean? Like, we want you to experience that with us that way. The reason why I say that is because I'm not comfortable getting up on a soapbox and telling people how to do their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So honestly, I was dead set on doing like weekly, and I tried it for a really long time. And what I ran into was it's weird because at first I was like, I don't want to do a solo one. I want to make sure I always have a guest because I need that back and forth. But that being said, what I learned in the wintertime is if I'm sitting there pouring baits and making plastics, I honestly don't think anybody cares what I'm saying. They're just watching my hands move, and it's just something to pass the time, because I've noticed that people will watch and hang out and interact with me, and then I can interact with the audience. And that's what I kind of learned to do, is like read the chat. And you guys do it in yours too. Like you'll be like talking to people as you go through, like, but I am going to be limiting like the podcast. This particular podcast will be bi-weekly going forward. It's just, I'm going to mix in some like fishing live content. I'm going to mix in some bait making stuff when I can, to fill out the other weeks when I can.
Yeah,
But
it's a
I
lot
just
less
feel like,
pressure, right?
well, what it is, honestly, is I felt like I was oversaturated. Like and it's funny, I say that because I had a podcast on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday this week. But, and then on top of it, I end up like a lot of times I jump on other people's podcasts. And what's funny is like the group that's in the chat right now, like Scott Vermotter, Michael Bradley, and Michael Bradley is in your guys' a lot too. Like I call them like the podcast posse, because they watch Rudd's, they watch Bailey's, they watch mine. I see them sometimes in your guys' podcast. Like they're just watching all of them.
I am actually a huge consumer of podcasts. I run out of podcasts.
Yep.
And YouTube shows. I watch them so much. Dude, I don't know, I'm still sitting, I'm only I'm only 2/5 of the way done. I'm still sitting on a couple hundred of these jerk baits that I got to put hardware on and put them in packages. I'm pouring baits. I'm building the boxes. Not just building the boxes, as in shaping the actual box and putting the 8 million freaking stickers that we decided was a good idea to put on boxes. But I'm also like picking all of the baits to go into the boxes. And yeah, dude, like I can't, I need to have something else going on for me to be able to focus. So I've always got something playing, dude. I watch all this stuff. I'm not usually a commenter though. I just kind of, I just like to watch.
So you know what's funny, dude, is that's how I discovered Bobby. I work my job.
That long form is good, dude.
Well, so when I at work, I'm doing a lot of projects on servers. So like literally right now, for example, the project I'm doing, I'm kicking off a utility, waiting for it to finish. Then I'm going to another computer, doing a different project, documenting what finished on the last server. So like it's a lot of like repetitive tasks, kind of like you're saying. And I needed something to satisfy my ADHD, that I can't just stare at a screen and watch the loading bar fill up and then click on it again. I needed something, so I started listening to fishing podcasts, because I was like, I like fishing. Maybe I'll learn something while I'm at work, and I can do it. Now, I will say there are some podcasts like the Jigs and Bigs podcast that you want to make sure you're listening to on headphones at work, because you do not want that on speakerphone at work.
Dude, I love Jigs and Bigs because we sponsor them and are partners with them, and we do a lot with them. And I've actually, I've had a lot of amazing networking opportunities that have arisen because of our relationship with Jigs and Bigs. And I listen. So if our name is on a podcast, I listen to every episode.
Right.
Because I want to know what my name is on. I listen to every single freaking episode. Whether I have something to say about it or not, I listen to them all.
Yep.
He did this one. You familiar with Bass and Bruce?
Yeah, I've had Paul on a couple of times.
Yeah, so they did that. I don't know. I haven't listened to them for a little bit, but they did this one thing for a while where they were like, ass or bass.
Yep.
Bobby did a thing like that, and it was like, dude, it was like 20 straight seconds of like porn audio, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like, could you imagine like you've got a fishing podcast on and you're cool with it and it's playing out loud and you don't really care because it's a fishing podcast, whatever. And you walk away from like your desk or whatever. And then
Dude,
all of a sudden you got
the worst part too is I'm pretty sure if I remember that episode because I'm pretty sure that was right after like just the tip. So his audio literally went from like an actual factual bass detailed.
Yes.
Like it was
Yes.
like, I don't remember the tip, but it was something like, when you fish a wacky rig, you use this, and this line and this line. And then it's like, and is this ass or bass? And then it's horn music. And you're like, and you just hear. And you're like, yeah. No, I've actually been watching some of Bobby's like IG lives on the way to work, and I'll like have my phone and I'll get out of my truck and forget that when I get out of my truck it disconnects and starts playing. So then I'll be like not paying attention to the fact that now Bobby's talking about going to the fucking cannabis store to pick up some edibles while
right.
You got
this
of my company.
Right. Like you got this dude that sounds like Shaft, like on your radio talking about. He's like, "Hey, we got the."
Yeah. And the thing about Bobby is you gotta love the thing about Bobby is Bobby. That's not a character on his podcast.
Yeah.
That is literally how that is in real
Absolutely,
life.
Man. Love
if anything,
those guys.
he's actually less censored in real life.
Dude, I went out. I was on the St. Lawrence hanging with, did a fishing attorney with Joe.
Yep.
In October. That was a blast, dude. That was a blast. I kind of really like the direction the show has moved in this year. Yep. I like Bobby and Joe together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think they got a good thing going on. Joe's doing a great job with the headlines and stuff like that, and he brings a little bit of a different take on stuff.
He brings a technical, like Sean had a technical level, but Joe brings it in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like Joe kind of adds like a technical spin on it, but because Bobby is more of a multi-species angler, whereas Joe is more, specifically bass oriented. So
Joe's a bass brat. Yeah. Joe's a bass brat. I mean, dude, listen, I'm a bass brat.
Yeah, I am.
The only time of the year that I ever am not fishing for black bass is if the stars align and I am able to get out on my lake at the right time in October, the stripers will run up this creek arm. And the water boils for like 2 weeks straight, dude.
That's a bucket fish for me.
And dude, like I'm not kidding, you can catch like 7-pounders all day long.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you're still fishing for largemouth, at that point, like you're a dumbass. Like catch 7-8 pounds wipers, dude.
Yeah. No, that's something that I want to try to do. They have a run on the Cape every year that like you can hit apparently. Nate Shagnon was telling me about it actually. And there's like specific way of doing it, but like he says what's weird is because that is still like connected. Like he's literally been in his kayak and had sharks follow the striper up.
Well, yeah, dude. Like, but you're talking about actual striped bass.
Yeah, those.
You're
are
not
like
talking about the hybrids. I'm talking about hybrids.
Yeah, these are like big boy ones too. So, but even a 7-pounder, dude, those are hard fighting. Those are good fun fish. They're delicious too. Those are good eating.
I've heard they are very delicious. One of these days, I'm gonna have to eat one. One of these days, I'm gonna have to eat one. I've been putting together an idea in my head. Speaking of eating a fish. I've been putting an idea together in my head, and you can tell me if I'm out of my mind or not, but there is a lot of talk lately about harvesting bass in order to improve fisheries.
Yep.
I myself fish quite a few smaller bodies of water that could definitely use some culling.
We have one here that had they increased the limit to 5 for that reason.
So, and listen, I'm going to put this idea out there. If anybody wants to run with it, then run with it. But I really think there's something to it. So but listen, man, like I'm not going to a farm pond and catching the fish out of there and cooking them for dinner. Like
No.
I ain't doing that. But what if there was a way? What if there was a way to go catch these fish, harvest them, and pass them off to like a place that plants Christmas trees every year, or a company that's doing reforestation, where these fish could be thrown in the holes where these trees are planted, and it would actually be put to some good use.
You know, it's funny. I had that.
You know what I'm saying,
I had
buddy?
that
Like,
exact thought. So when I was listening to Bobby's podcast today, and I had that exact thought when I was listening to it, was there's a lot of like they do it with milfoil. So when they're dredging milfoil here, they compost it because it creates good soil.
sure, yeah,
Because it's grass. So it would be a beneficial thing. I think you could. They actually, you know, what's funny is what they do with, and I don't know if they could do this with bass, but with like on Lake Ontario with the king salmon,
yeah,
they actually sell them to fish food companies.
yeah, sure, man.
They actually dry that meat up and do whatever they do to make fish food out of the dead salmon, because once they spawn, they die. So they literally grab them, they squeeze the eggs out of them in the tank, and they throw them in a dump truck, and they sell them to XYZ company.
Like, why not, dude? Like, listen, I have since the early 2000s, every single time I've ever planted a tree, you know, maybe I'm planting a magnolia tree. I do some side work here and there for some people, and a lot of times they're asking me to do something like plant a tree, whatever. And every time I do that, I go to one of the ponds I fish, and I keep a few of those cookie cutters, and I gill them and put them in a bag and go throw them in the bottom of the hole. And dude, you've never seen a tree become more healthy in its first year than if you throw a fish in the bottom of the hole.
I could definitely see that. And I've said the same thing, because there's, like I said, there's literally a lake. It's actually one of the lakes that ironically is one of the first lakes that freezes up here that I'll probably be ice fishing in within 2-3 weeks. On that lake is clones. It is 14-inch largemouth. They can't get bigger. They can't. The only reason, honestly, that lake is even sustained the way it is, and this is just a testament to how stupid my fish and wildlife department is they stock this 20-foot deep lake with rainbows every year. That's loaded with bass, so many bass, that they increase the limit to 15. So what do you think happens to those poor stalker trout?
Yeah, half of those fingerlings are gone in the first like 20 minutes.
So this is the first lake to freeze, and it's also ironically one of the first lakes to thaw. And because it's in a higher elevation, it's a mountain lake, the bass are more acclimated to just being lower temperature. So I fish it early and late, and I get out there early. I can tell you when they're going to stock, because the bass pull in to
They're
the
ready.
They're waiting for the buffet line, because it's consistent every year when they stock.
Pavlov's dog, man. Yeah, they hear the bell.
So I know I can go out by the island, which is 40 yards from the boat ramp, and that's where they launch those fish in. And I can go circle that boat ramp, and I will slam fish. And the next day, I'll go look at the Fish and Game site, and I'll be like, "Yep, they're stocking those trout."
Here's something interesting to your comment about your dumb fish and wildlife government. What would you call that? Anywho, yeah, your fish and wildlife people that take care of that in your state. I am unaware of any state that does not have public meetings. So if you get on your Fish and Game or whatever, PA, it's called the PA Fish and Boat Commission. That's the word I was looking for. Their meetings, they have them a couple times a year. I don't know if it's quarterly or what, but they have them a couple times a year, and they're open to the public. And a lot of the things that they decide to do with their funds, with their monies, what they're going to focus on that year, are all brought up in that meeting. And that is actually a point of time of which you, as a consumer of their service, actually have a chance to have some kind of influence or input on what they do. So I highly recommend that anybody that cares or is interested go to the website, look it up, find out when their meetings are, and dude, go sit in on one.
Yeah.
See what's going on, rather than be a part of a gossip mill or conspiracy theorist or whatever the hell else. Go sit in, which you are by rights. That's your right to do that.
Yep.
Go sit in, see what they're doing, and maybe you can do something about it. Maybe you can have it. Maybe you have an idea that nobody's thought of before, and maybe they'll listen. Maybe they won't. I don't know.
Right.
But at least we do actually have, and dude, how many people do you know that do that? Dude, I've never done it. I just learned this. I literally just learned this like within the last couple of months that you can actually do that. You better dude, they sprayed the shit out of my lake, killed like 70% of the grass. The population of good bass is
Yep.
and like now I find out that I actually could have been there and be a part of those meetings and quite possibly have a say.
Yep.
Now, I guarantee you, do you know who's sitting in on those meetings? The people that spend a ton of money on boats, pleasure boats that have docks and stuff on these lakes, or maybe the people that have a rental boat business on the lake. And so why not us as anglers? Why don't we make our voices heard? Why don't we put ourselves in the position to be heard? Like seriously be heard, not just whining on the internet, but actually be in the place where the shit happens to be heard.
Yeah, I had a buddy that was actually at one of the lakes here. They were talking about spraying. So there was actually Lake Bomazine here was actually pretty famous for they blocked the state from spraying because I don't know if they didn't allow the permit to happen or whatever, but they managed to not allow spraying for a while. It came back up that they were going to start doing it again. And now, granted, this lake, the northern end of this lake, makes like some Florida lakes look like no grass at all.
That's just like my lake, man. It's more weed than water.
It's loaded. So it definitely needs something, but the spray, the thing is the problem they have is, and they won't admit it, is there's another lake just south of that they've been spraying like crazy, and fish are literally coming out with like sores and like there's like weird stuff going on, and and like you said, the thing that they don't take into account, which bugs me, is, and it's something that, like you said, the decisions are being made in a vacuum, is you kill all that grass, well, the bluegill eat the plankton off the vegetation. You're removing shelter for all food sources, not just the bass, but the frogs live on the lily pads, and they even admitted, they even got him to admit in this meeting that the spray will kill, because they were saying in the beginning of the meeting, oh, the spray is designed to only kill milfoil. Yeah, but then at the end of the meeting, they go, yeah, it will affect other types.
Yeah, of course it is. It's a poison.
Dude, it's
a poison. And something else they don't ever consider is the water in my lake has become a muddy freaking mess because the plants aren't there to filter it out anymore. There's a reason why that stuff occurs naturally.
So one of the things that another geeky science thing that I never thought of, but it actually makes sense, is one of the things they brought up is we had a huge blue-green algae bloom in a lot of these lakes that they've been spraying. And they said the reason, and they actually brought in guys that know more than I do, the freaking milfoil was using the manure runoff as fertilizer. It was actually absorbing that out of the water, and now
there's nothing to suck it up.
So now it's turning into it's not a big problem with blue-green algae because you got rid of the grass that was eating the.
Now, one of the reasons why they're spraying in a lot of areas, at least here in Pennsylvania, is because of all of you lazy bastards that refuse to clean out your goddamn boats
Yep.
and are bringing invasive species from one lake to another. So some of that is our fault.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
Our fault. Like there's a curly pond weed is the big issue right now. And it's a shit grass, man. It really is. It's a shit grass. It's real bad. I don't, it really is. It's a shit grass. But anyways, yeah. So all, right
Oh, and that's the thing.
right
Yeah,
alongside the people that are buying crawfish from a bait place and then just dumping their extras out in the water and decimating the natural population of whatever species of craw lives in that body. Well, yeah, y'all are assholes. Quit being lazy. Like, wash your boats, empty the shit out, wash your boats. Like, do at least the minimum. Like, spray the damn thing off. Like, let's try not to muddy everything up. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, we're gonna have to wear masks on our boats. So
I
do you guys
literally
want?
have disinfecting wipes because I go to a couple of lakes that got blue-green algae, and I literally wipe down my kayak with disinfectant wipes.
Yeah.
To get the algae out.
But
There's
yeah,
actually a couple of lakes that I won't fish. Like, if I fish that lake, sometimes I'll double up. Like, if I'm fishing in the morning, I'll go out in the afternoon and fish a different lake, but I will only do that with lakes that have the same
yeah. Like,
crap.
I mean, like,
But if I have a lake that I will not fish, like has a blue-green algae bloom every year,
I don't know what's it
it
going to cost you. What's it going to cost you? It's going to cost you. All right, so I got my kayak hanging off the back of my truck, and it cost me $1.25 to pull into one of those handheld car wash places and just give it a good spray. Hey, do you know what else happens when you do that? That dirty ass ring that you get around your canoe, you can blow most of that off.
Well,
Cool.
and honestly, to be fair, there's probably shit on your kayak that's slowly degrading that plastic from that water.
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So getting that off of there is probably not necessarily a bad thing because
man.
there's crap in that water that, there's probably motor oil or gas that you went through at the boat ramp that you now have sitting on the plastic.
But I guess in retrospect, buddy, if we weren't being lazy ourselves and causing these problems, if we were actually taking care of what we've been given, and if we were actually motivated enough to take part in the things that could actually change the rules and regulations of the resources that we love, and then we would have nothing to bitch about. So then we wouldn't have podcasts. So
I know. Then I wouldn't have 2 hours to talk about it. All right, let's go on to forward-facing sonar. Let's start.
Oh my goodness!
All right. Well, Zach's got to put some hooks on some jerk baits. I should probably let him get back to it. He's got a deep order.
There's some here.
That's awesome.
This color is called Excelsior.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yep.
That's a Chris specialty.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. After we did that podcast, I sent him a text and I'm like, "Oh, dude, I forgot. I need some of those perch ones because I lost the last couple of them." And that's the nice thing about being friends with a bait painter is you can send him a text message and be like, "Bro, I need 5 of these and 4 of these and 2 of these." And
yeah, dude, and that's something I think that some of our customers might not know or forget is that you're as Dark Horse Tackle, the bait shop grows and grows and grows. Yeah, you're going to be able to come to us and get all of these cool baits and these cool custom colors that are hand painted by all these talented guys. But don't ever forget that your imagination could very well be much better than ours. And you can call up Chris from A-Bay. You can get a hold of Graham from Robusto. You can talk to Blake from Dark Corner and say, "Hey, I have this color in mind."
Yep.
And you can get your own shit.
Dude,
and they'll paint it for you. And we want you to go to these guys and do that. Like, we want you to support these guys like that.
I can tell you right now, here's the number one thing. I'll leave you guys with this before we leave. Everybody has that bait that their dad had in their box or a color that they used to love that you can't get anymore. Guess what? Call your local bait painter and say, "Hey, I have this pattern that I can't get anymore. Guess what? Those guys can make it because I've done that with. That's how literally I started talking to Chris from eBay. I was like, dude, I cannot get this color from Bandit anymore because they discontinued this color. I used to catch
Mm-hmm.
the crap out of them, and I'm afraid to use this one bait because I don't want to lose it, and I have pike and pickerel in my water. Can you reproduce this color for me? And the cool thing about it is if you always hated the fact that it had a kill dot and you didn't want the kill dot or you wanted it a little bit of a darker purple, guess what? Here's your opportunity to
These guys exist to give you whatever the hell you want.
Chris loves it. That's actually literally what Chris wants to get back to more of that. Like he was talking to me about it. He's like, I love and I'm not talking, guys, you don't need like a CAD design. I literally took paint, print screened a bait, and then scribbled blue, green. Like I sent him the most crude napkin drawing piece of shit thing, and then he sent me back a bait the next day. He's like, "How about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, better than what I wanted."
We've gone to some of these painters with like a picture of a beetle that we thought was cool, that would make a good color for a lure, and been like, "Can you make this into a jerkbait?" And they do.
Yeah. Dude,
So-
it's crazy. So yeah, definitely support those guys. And if you guys haven't checked out Dark Horse, I know there's a few people in my chat right now that are just starting out.
Yeah.
And like Zach said, that's a perfect opportunity to get some baits, get some products that you may not have bought or thought about buying, and then it will give you a little bit more of an arsenal. And I will tell you, I will personally vouch for. I have never gotten a free box from Dark Horse. I'm not a Dark Horse pro staff. I am literally a customer that bought from Dark Horse, met Zach and drank with him at one of Bobby Rose's parties. And that's why I recommend it, because it's something that I personally, like I said, hey, dude, save me a box for December because I'm getting paid on Friday. I want it.
Oh, and currently, if you go on to Dark Horse Tackle, however you spend your money, if you spend $50 or more, you will get a free Cornerstone crankbait from us. Cornerstone crankbaits are fantastic proprietary crankbaits. We got a 1.5, a 2.5, and a lipless. And that's a proprietary design from a small business here in America, Cornerstone. And all of his, it's actually the only hard bait we carry that's not equipped with Vector. Do you know why it's not equipped with Vector?
No.
Because it comes with owner.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's there. And then listen, as good as Vectors are, there's not a single reason in the world to switch out an owner hook, and we're not doing it.
No, yeah. No.
But so yeah, no, all of those come with hyperwire rings and owner treble hooks.
Not to mention they were
it's
tuned to fish with the owners too, so they're probably
it's a great little promo. It's a great little crankbait. Yeah. So, but if you spend over 50 while supplies last, you get a free crankbait.
So go check it out, guys.
Hey man, thanks, dude.
Awesome. We will let him get back to his hooking, and we will bring him back on a little bit later on in the year, I'm sure. Get out of here, guys.